boy, welcome back Helldivers. Arrowhead has released an article. This was a little bit after the patch went live, and it goes through some of their reasoning for the recent balance patch. If you don't know what the balance patch is, you're likely at work or have been sleeping. I do have a video on it. It's the first link in the description, but we're pretty much going to cover it here anyway because they justify the decisions. Now, if you have been at work or been sleeping, you probably haven't seen some of the backlash from the community. There is a lot of people that are quite unhappy with the balance patch. Let me say this before we get into reading the article, and I am going to just read you the article in case you can't get to it. I will leave the chapters down below. If you just want to skip to the article, go for it. If you just want to read the article, it will be in the description. Go for it. But I do want to address a couple things first. I am in the minority with this patch. I don't have an issue with it. I like it, but I also acknowledge my own biases. As a content creator, I make money from this. When there is a change in a meta in this weapon being changed, it makes videos like this. Then I can make another video on now the best next thing to use rather than the railgun. Then I can make another video on how cool the flamethrower is now. I am more than happy to acknowledge all my own biases with changes in the game and say, yeah, I am in the minority. I am in a privileged position to be able to play this game and know life this game all the time. And I already reached level 20. I had the railgun. I had the backpack. I used it a whole bunch until I kind of got bored with it and then went on to something else. Not everyone is in that position. I also have 10 years of trauma from Destiny and having this exact same conversation. If you don't know, I have my main channel, which has 250,000 subscribers on it, and I basically covered Destiny for 10 years. So I've been here before. But it does not mean I'm going to ignore the community's opinion. So many channels, it doesn't matter what game it is. Best community ever. We love you. Like, comment, subscribe. Give me your credit card. Yeah, boy. I'm not going to ignore when the community's happy and pretend like everything's hunky-dory, okay? And that's what I'm picking up from the comments. People are not happy. And I'm going to do my best to represent when people aren't happy, even if I don't agree with it. I'm always going to try to give a balanced opinion, play devil's advocate, give my thoughts, give the community thoughts, and like this video, give the developers thoughts on why these changes happened. So if you don't like that, that's fine. You also don't have to agree with my opinion, of course. I watch a lot of content creators that I don't agree with because it makes my argument stronger. And I think you can watch this channel and completely disagree with me, but hopefully you'll come away with maybe a better argument, better critiques, better constructive feedback. And the reason I say all this is, like I said before, I've been in the Destiny community for 10 years. I've contracted to Bungie. I've been to their summits and given feedback from my community. I did a Google survey with 5,000 participants. I have a background in research. I did some qualitative analysis, and I presented reports to the game directors about things people were not happy with. And that can happen. If Helldivers keeps going the way it goes and keeps blowing up and keeps getting bigger, you know, I don't want YouTubers to be the loudest voice and only represent their own opinions. So I will try to give you a balanced opinion. I will try to give you my opinion. I will try to reflect your opinion, which right now people are saying, we wish the weapons, you brought other weapons up to the level of Breaker and Railgun rather than bring them down. People are also saying like, hey, the game's pretty new. I just got it. And remember, the sales for Helldivers has continued to go up rather than go down over the weeks as word of mouth spreads. So people are coming into the game who are new and have not reached level 20 yet, and stuff is getting nerfed. And I haven't completed my battle pass yet. If they nerf the last, what's it called? Scorcher? If they nerf the last gun in the battle pass before I get to it, I'll probably be pretty pissed off too. I didn't get to play around with it. I didn't experience the fantasy of it. So I get that as well. And I also get that it is very different matchmaking versus having a team. It's very different if you've got a team of friends with Discord and you can coordinate your loadouts a lot better than random people or joining a game mid-match. And I do think that the higher difficulties will be harder because there will be even a greater reliance on team composition than there was before. I get that as well. And that I'm in a privileged position where I can stream and literally have people fill up my team who are at max level. Right. There's my opinion, love it or hate it. Let's read their response to the balance patches. Balancing the firepower in Helldivers 2. We recently released a patch containing our first round of balance changes to Helldivers 2, and our head of product testing has some valuable insight into philosophies and practices when it comes to balancing. Hello everyone, my name is Patrick Lasota. I was the designer of the first Helldivers, and I'm currently head of product testing at Arrowhead. A bit of a grandiose title, but what it means in this context is that I'm responsible for how Arrowhead listens to feedback and balances its games. I'd like to talk about the changes we made in this patch and why. Primary weapons. First, I'd like to speak to the general power of primary weapons. Many have commented that they aren't powerful enough and are unable to deal with all the enemies either by the amount of ammunition required or their raw DPS. This is very much intentional. You need to rely on your stratagems and the stratagems of your team to deal with all the enemies effectively, either by eagle airstrikes, orbitals, support weapons, or turrets. Some of your loadout team should be tailoring their loadout to killing the weaker stuff more efficiently. This is kind of what I was mentioning before, that I think that some of these changes are going down the path of obviously needing better team composition. And I do acknowledge that if you're matchmaking, this might be an issue. I love the idea of having a specific role. I made a video essentially with grenade launcher, supply backpack, and orbitals to just be like the ad clear of the team. But obviously that takes coordination with your team members. This doesn't mean that your primary weapon shouldn't feel good to use, but please understand that it is primary only in the sense that it's something you always spawn with. Nerfs and fantasy. I have since the game released seen many who say don't nerf, only buff, and other similar ideas. However, as a designer, I can tell you this is not a great idea, but I understand where the sentiment comes from. All too often in the games industry, the core fantasy and what makes a weapon feel good and fun is ignored for the sake of balance. I believe players are scared of nerfs because it will ruin the fantasy of a weapon, ruin their fun. It is extra important to us to tread carefully so that we don't ruin fantasy and fun when we do nerfs. We hope you, our players, will tell us when we cross that line inadvertently. Oh, I don't think you're gonna have to hope. I think they've already proven that. Anyway, let's take a closer look at the changes we have made for this balance patch. SG-225 Breaker. The Breaker was quickly pinned down as the meta weapon, vastly overperforming other weapons and being the best choice for all Helldivers, at least if YouTube is to be believed. Yes, you scumbag YouTubers, you're the problem! Helldivers veterans will remember the Breaker from the first game and how powerful it was, something we have made an effort to mimic in this game as well. When we looked at the Breaker and the data we have on its usage, it painted a picture of a well-liked weapon that was great at killing chaff and generally had a few more kills than other weapons. It was, however, not necessarily better at making you succeed in a mission. The calculated total damage per magazine was quite high compared to other weapons, however, and something that could be reined in while reinforcing the intended fantasy. The fantasy of the Breaker is a powerful automatic shotgun that bucks wildly as you hose down targets in front of you. It should be deadly up close with high DPS, and its major drawback should be ammunition management and pacing your fire so as to not overshoot a target. To that end, we have lowered the amount of shells in each magazine and increased the recoil. SG-8 Punisher. The Punisher is a powerful pump shotgun that should hit hard but be limited by its slow reload and fire rate. Its rounds reload allows you to have it constantly topped up and makes the ammunition efficiency fantastic. Unfortunately, the Punisher had a bug with only half ammo being picked up each time you picked up ammunition, making its supposed great ammunition economy quite poor instead. It also had a weak impact when firing on enemies, often requiring multiple shots even at shorter range. To bring it more in line with its intended fantasy, we increased the damage per shotgun pellet, the stagger amount, and the total amount of ammunition you can carry. We hope this will make it feel more punchy, as even if you don't kill a hunter with the first shot, you'll most likely stagger it, giving you time for a follow-up. SG-225 SP Breaker Spray and Pray. The Breaker Spray and Pray was intended to be an even wilder, more point and destroy version of the regular Breaker, something where pacing yourself would be even harder. A shotgun that requires you to get closer, but in comparison have a high damage potential once up close. As many players commented, however, it was mostly good for tickling anything larger than a scavenger. To bring it closer to the fantasy, we increase its armor penetration, increase its fire rate from 300 RPM to 330 RPM, and increase the amount of shotgun pellets in each shot from 12 to 16. To compensate for this additional firepower, we reined in the magazine capacity from 32 to 26 as to not make it outshine the regular breaker too much in the ammunition economy department. Oh baby, the railgun. There's actually some interesting stuff in here. Another one of the current meta weapons enforced by its convenience and efficiency. The railgun is really intended to be a high-powered anti-tank sniper rifle requiring both timing with the unsafe mode and accuracy with where you hit the enemy. It was vastly overperforming in how safe it was to use and how convenient it was, not requiring a backpack or assistance to be effective and not requiring a risk to take out even larger armored targets. To that end, we have changed it so that the safe mode is capable of penetrating medium armor, such as automaton scout walkers, but not more heavily armored enemies like chargers and bile titans. For those targets, you now must run it in unsafe mode and overcharge it. In addition, we reined in the railgun's ability to damage massive body parts, meaning to get any real efficiency out of it, you must score hits on heads and other weak points. We are aware it rose to prominence as part of other anti-tank weapons, not being as convenient or efficient in comparison. We are monitoring the situation closely and will adjust more based on how this change plays out. This definitely makes it seem like the railgun hasn't been changed too much. Is really this sounds like the safe mode is really where the nerf is, and you have to use it in unsafe mode to get the same effect. Once again, I haven't played around with it yet, but I'm keen to. But I think it's good that they did acknowledge it. This is kind of the problem, is that it does outshine a lot of the other anti-tank weapons. I mean, just look at the spear. Its lock-on is just so garbage. And its ammo economy is nowhere near as good as the railgun. Personally, just saying, if you watch my other video, I think the expendable anti-tank is like top tier. You have it every 70 seconds. 2 shots to the bile titan's head and it's dead. I think it's a fantastic weapon. It's a starter weapon. Anyway, a flamethrower. The flamethrower is really the embodiment of stepping into a queen's lair and torching all her eggs, as done by a badass action heroine. It should be powerful up close and inconvenience to enemies that are lit on fire or want to walk through the fire and flames. As many have commented, the flamer has felt a little too anemic, not outputting damage at a rate that is warranted by a weapon with a shorter range and large volatility such as the flamethrower. We have increased the flamethrower's direct damage to be able to barbecue enemies that get too close much faster. Please enjoy your terminated barbecue device responsibly, as this also makes it even more volatile for any Helldivers caught in the stream. I'm really excited for flamethrower. I've been seeing little clips already. I think the flamethrower is going to be top tier very quickly. We'll have to see. Laser cannon. Our original intent was that the laser cannon has the role of a machine gun, but with the theoretically infinite ammunition. I never knew that because it doesn't look like that. It's called a cannon. However, many players were somewhat disappointed by this role, expecting more armor penetration from the large drilling beam that it looks like exactly, especially when looking at the orbital laser that can drill down and even kill the heaviest targets given enough time. Here we have decided to side with the community and shift the laser cannon more towards the players' expectations and their fantasy. The laser cannon has gained additional damage versus massive body parts, increased armor penetration to make it capable of dealing with medium armor, and better ergonomics to make it easier to stay on target. That sounds good! As this is quite a major change from the original intention of the weapon, please be prepared that it might change again in the future. If these changes don't work out well for now, let us know how it feels. Okay, my beloved shield backpack. The shield backpack is safety at the expense of a backpack slot. Unfortunately, the safety offered up by the shield backpack was a bit too great, essentially allowing you to ignore many mechanics that contribute to the fun of Helldivers, such as knockback, shockwaves, and giant explosions obliterating you and your friends. Yes, you've likely seen the clips. You can tank a 500 kg explosion with the shield. To that end, we have increased the time the shield needs before it starts regenerating, if not broken, quite significantly. Interesting. So it's going to take... Let me keep reading. This essentially means that you can't hide behind a rock for 5 seconds to get your shield back to full. Instead, it will be a degrading health bar until it breaks. When the shield breaks, it will take longer to regenerate than before, but still significantly shorter than if it has not broken. To compensate for these extra times, the regen speed of the shield itself is near instant to max HP. I need to play around this. At first I thought it was saying that it's like a health bar, a degrading health bar until it breaks. As in, it doesn't regenerate. So you just kind of lose HP on the shield pack and then it breaks. But then it says when the shield breaks, it will take longer to regenerate than before, but still significantly shorter than if it has not broken. I gotta play with it. Giggity. There's only a partial solve in our minds of the shield backpack, but it should bring it out from the must-have meta slot it has filled currently. Fair. Okay. 120 mil and 380 mil barrages. The fantasy of these in an artillery storm denying entry in the area in which they are active and raining down powerful shells on the target for a longer duration. They are primarily different from Eagle stratagems in that while the Eagle strikes are fast to arrive and have pinpoint accuracy, these have a longer active time but are less accurate. They have, however, not delivered on the feel of being active much longer or the saturated aerial denial effect. To bring them closer to the fantasy, we have decreased their scatter area and giving them an extra salvo. They should still solve a different problem than the Eagles, but have more value now. I am innocent. I think this is going to be good for automatons. Automatons. Yeah, I wonder. Cool. In closing, I hope this gives you a greater insight into how we are thinking around balance and why we make the changes we have. Happy helldiving. And there you have it, Arrowhead's reasoning for the most recent balance patch. I'm very excited to play with all the stuff that has been buffed, the flamethrower, the laser cannon, pretty much all the buffs I'm pretty excited to see. I feel, just by reading it on paper, the rail gun has not been hit as hard as it initially sounded like. It seems like all the changes are for the safe mode. But we will see. If you've already had a chance to jump into the game and play around with stuff, let me know what you like. If you're still unhappy, that's okay. You can let me know too. I'm not banning anyone for like disagreeing with anything and giving feedback, but just try to make sure it's constructive. And with that, if you'd like to support the channel and cannot think of a comment, you can leave the word flamethrower, because that is what I am most excited about seeing. As usual, it's been a pleasure. This is Myelin Games. Peace.